My husband had 7 women while he was married to me. 7. I say it like that, flat, without embellishment, because if I sugarcoat it, I'm lying to myself again. And I've lied enough. The most absurd part is that while he was collecting bodies, I was collecting excuses to justify him without proof. Yeah, something inside me knew something was wrong, but I chose to be the calm wife, the trusting one, the one who doesn't snoop, the one who doesn't make a scene. How elegantly I let myself be destroyed in silence. The ironic thing is that for years, I was the last person to really suspect, not because there weren't signs, but because I refused to see them. I preferred to chalk it up to stress, fatigue, and routine. I told myself that's what a real marriage looked like, that not everything could be passion, attention, long-lingering looks. And with that excuse, I covered up silences, absences, mood swings, contradictions. My name is Laura. I'm 34. I was married for 6 years to a man who, on the outside, seemed flawless, polite, responsible, hardworking. One of those people everyone likes, the kind families boast about. I even boasted about him. I chose him believing I would have stability with him, and for a while I did. Or at least I thought I did. Our life was normal. Quick breakfasts, texts during the day, dinners at night, quiet weekends, nothing luxurious but nothing lacking either. A simple life, and that was enough for me. I didn't ask for anything extraordinary, just honesty. What a cruel irony. The first signs were tiny, details so small anyone could ignore them. Phone always face down, bathroom locked, smiles at nothing while staring at the screen, mood swings with no explanation, excuses repeated with slight variations. I noticed. Of course I noticed, but every time a suspicion tried to take shape, I drowned it with a comfortable phrase. You're overreacting. Until one night, that phrase stopped working. We were sitting across from each other, having dinner at the usual table. I was talking about something meaningless, and he responded with monosyllables. At one point, I mentioned a female coworker, nothing important. And then, with a dangerous nonchalance, he said a sentence that still echoes in my head. She's always been into long-term relationships, unlike others. He didn't look up, didn't realize what he'd just revealed, but that sentence carried too much information for a conversation that didn't ask for it. It was like a switch flipped inside me. I didn't ask anything. I smiled, kept eating, but silently I made a decision. Stop ignoring what I already knew, even if I didn't yet have proof. That night, I didn't sleep. He did. I didn't. I watched him for hours. He breathed calmly, like someone carrying no secrets. And that's when I realized a devastating truth. I was living with a man who knew how to lie better than I knew how to suspect. The following days, I became a silent observer. I didn't ask questions, didn't confront him. I listened, I watched. I mentally noted details I had previously overlooked. Changing schedules, repeated excuses, extended trips, work meetings that didn't add up. And the more pieces I found, the less I wanted to assemble them. But the final blow didn't come as shouting or arguments. It came disguised as something mundane, a notification. His phone was on the table, charging. It buzzed once, then again. I wasn't going to look. Really, I wasn't. Until it buzzed a third time, and then I realized it wasn't curiosity. It was instinct. My hand moved before my mind did. The message read, "Are you going to be mine alone today?" No hearts, no jokes, just confidence. And that confidence wasn't mine. I didn't wake him up, didn't make a scene. I took the phone to the bathroom and closed the door. What I found next wasn't a fling. It was a whole system. Hidden conversations, fake names, photos, audio messages, repeated promises, dates, locations. A logistical web of deceit so precise it seemed designed by someone who had done this many times. That's when I understood the harshest truth. My husband didn't have a mistake. He had a system. He wasn't cheating with one woman. He was cheating with many. I didn't know how many yet, but I already knew something worse. I didn't know the man I had married. And the cruelest part of all, while I silently dismantled his lies, he treated me the same as always. Morning kisses, texts during the day, goodnight wishes at night, as if nothing was happening.
as if at that exact moment, I wasn't discovering that my marriage wasn't just one betrayal, it was a collection of betrayals.
After that night, I never looked at my husband the same way again. On the outside, he was still the same man, but inside, from me, he was someone else. Every word he said, every excuse, every gesture of affection, everything carried a second meaning. And that second meaning always smelled like a lie. I didn't confront him immediately, not because I lacked courage, but because I needed to understand. I wanted to know how he did it, how a person could sustain so many stories at the same time without breaking, how someone could lie so calmly and then come home with a clear conscience. I soon discovered that his main weapon wasn't passion, desire, or even charm. His real weapon was organization. My husband was meticulous, precise. He had every part of his life divided like locked rooms. I was in the main room, the one everyone saw. The others were hidden, neatly ordered and separated from each other. Each woman had her own space in his schedule. Tuesdays were working late, Thursdays, dinner with clients. One Saturday a month, quick trip. Sunday afternoons, outing with colleagues. He didn't improvise. Nothing was left to chance. Alibis were rehearsed. He had ready-made responses for every possible doubt. Meanwhile, I lived confidently in that routine he had built for me. I thought I knew him. I thought I understood when he was tired, distant, distracted. I never realized those states weren't mine. They belonged to them. Because he wasn't unfaithful in just one way. With each woman, he was a different version of himself. With one, the sensitive man. With another, the protector. With another, the funny one. With another, the adventurous one. With another, the suffering one. And with me, I was the proper wife. The one who paid the bills, upheld the family, never raised suspicions. I began to understand that his success lay in this, never repeating patterns. Each woman got a different story. To one, he said he was in a cold marriage. To another, that he was about to separate. Another, that he was trapped. Another, that his wife mistreated him. Another, that he stayed in the relationship out of habit. And I, unknowingly, was the villain in several versions I never asked to play. Meanwhile, I continued being his refuge. The tidy house, the hot meals, the predictable routines. I was the place where he rested from all his lies before going back out to create more. The encounters weren't chaotic. On the contrary, some were brief, an hour at noon, a coffee that wasn't just a coffee. Others lasted longer. Discreet hotels, borrowed apartments, escapes with perfect excuses. He knew exactly how much time he could be away without me suspecting, and I, unknowingly, gave him that time with complete trust. He had even perfected the art of emotional distance. When he was with me, he never mentioned any of them. When he was with them, I ceased to exist. I wasn't named, not suggested, not implied. I was erased from his story with a chilling ease. To some, he simply had no wife. To others, he had a dead marriage. To others, a trapped marriage. It depended on what he needed to sell. While I believed I was in a stable relationship, he was sustaining 7 parallel realities, and I was the only one not seeing the full map. The lies weren't always big. Sometimes they were tiny details. Changing the location of a meeting, anticipating a call, turning off notifications, using different passwords, hiding apps, storing contacts under neutral names. Carlos, office, Laura work, group. That level of coldness doesn't come from impulse. It's trained. I also began to notice something I hadn't before. He didn't seem nervous when lying. He didn't hesitate, didn't change his tone, didn't lower his gaze. He lied as naturally as he breathed, as if the truth was just a less convenient version of his story.
While I thought our relationship was going through normal ups and downs, he was handing out promises like playing cards. Promises of trips, promises of moving, promises of change, promises of a soon. All those promises never arrived, but they kept someone waiting. I was one of those people waiting, only mine was the longest, costliest wait. By that point, I knew it wasn't a slip, not a mistake, not an accident. My husband hadn't stumbled into infidelity. He had made it his way of life. And the most perverse thing is that during all that time, I blamed myself. I wondered if maybe I wasn't enough, if maybe I was distant, if maybe I'd let myself go, if maybe I didn't listen. I asked questions I never should have asked because betrayal doesn't come from the shortcomings of the deceived. It comes from the choices of the one who deceives. I was living inside a fake version of my marriage. He, on the other hand, had 7, and all of them were lies. When I finally understood how he did it, how he lied, how he organized his double life, I realized something chilling. If I didn't confront him at the right moment, he would keep doing it with ever more perfect precision. And that's when the most painful part began. The part where I stopped being just a cheated wife and became a witness to my own betrayal.
It wasn't a dramatic blow or a lucky accident that revealed the extent of his deceit. It was something far more mundane and cruel. The accumulation of details impossible to ignore. Small fragments he hadn't considered important. Pieces of a puzzle I didn't know was being assembled, but that slowly began to fit together. It was like watching a sandcastle crumble, grain by grain, until the tide exposed the entire trap. It all started with a wrong call. A number I didn't recognize appeared on his phone while I was checking something I couldn't forget. A previous message that had unsettled me, one I didn't fully understand, one I had let slide because I still had no proof. When I heard the voice on the other end, a chill ran down my spine. A female voice, nervous, slightly angry, and most disturbing, she called him by a name that wasn't mine. For years, he had been able to compartmentalize everything, to keep each lie isolated. But in that moment, the line between realities began to crack. At first, I said nothing. I stayed silent as I listened. Every word she said, every response from him, revealed with mathematical precision what I had suspected for a long time. This wasn't a mistake, a slip, or a passing indiscretion. It was systematic, meticulous, pre-planned. And that perfection had me trust him, believe in the routine, think that my marriage was solid. It was, but on a foundation of sand. Then came the cross messages, screenshots accidentally revealed on his open computer, pop-up notifications he thought were hidden, passwords he had entrusted to me to manage the household that unknowingly allowed me access to everything. Every piece of evidence left no doubt. All his stories were true. All his lies were supported by verifiable facts. Everything fit together with the precision of a Swiss watch. Each woman had her own schedule, her own version, her own story. And he maintained them all simultaneously. It was painful to see how efficiently he had organized his parallel life. Every date recorded discreetly in his calendar, every message deleted after being read, every false location planned. Meanwhile, I had been his wife, sleeping beside him, having breakfast with him, believing every "I love you" spoken on cue. I hadn't been deceived for lack of attention, but by the meticulous skill with which he had created a web of lies I could never have imagined. The most devastating part wasn't the physical or digital proof, but the patterns, the repeated details I had initially overlooked, a schedule that didn't match, a strange smell, a coffee he never had with me, a message deleted for no apparent reason. Each of those seemingly insignificant moments now shone with neon clarity. I realized that the deceit wasn't just emotional or physical. It was a daily exercise in silent manipulation. My life had been a function of his lie, and I hadn't even realized it.
The definitive moment happened one afternoon when I went onto his computer while he was in the shower. I hadn't planned it. It wasn't an impulse. It was a mix of desperation and curiosity that forced me to look beyond what I should. And there it was. Encrypted folders, archived conversations, photos, locations, each woman represented by a different pseudonym, each encounter detailed with exact times. It was like opening a forbidden book, one that revealed all his betrayals, all his lies, all his manipulations. And I found myself staring at a man who existed only in the mirror of his own duplicity. As I went through it, something inside me shifted. The initial anger and pain blended with an almost clinical astonishment. How could someone maintain 7 relationships at the same time with total impunity? How could he maintain the appearance of normalcy while fragmenting his life into so many secrets? I realized it wasn't a miscalculation. Every lie was carefully woven, every lie carefully maintained. My husband was an architect of betrayal. In the following days, I did something I never thought possible. I began to reconstruct the full map. Not all of them responded. Some blocked me, others denied contact, but even their evasions confirmed my hypothesis. Every answer I got, every indirect confirmation, every strategic silence brought me closer to the truth. The number of women and the precision with which he managed each relationship were revealed gradually but relentlessly. Nothing escaped his control. And as I reconstructed his network, I realized the magnitude of what I had lived through without knowing. The cruelest part wasn't discovering how he related to them. With each, he had a different persona. One sensitive, another dominant, another playful, another mysterious. He didn't repeat patterns, didn't make emotional mistakes, didn't mix stories. With me, he was the proper husband. With them, a transformed man, capable of offering promises, attention, and passion I had believed was mine alone. I had never been enough for him. He was just a part of a bigger mechanism, a piece of his own entertainment, of his ability to sustain lives with supernatural ease. The final confirmation came when I cross-checked dates and locations. I realized he wasn't just cheating frequently. His encounters didn't overlap by accident, but by exact planning. He knew how long he could be absent, which excuses would work on me, when and where he should appear. Every move calculated to minimize suspicion and maximize emotional freedom. The revelation was devastating. I hadn't lost an unfaithful husband. I had lived with a master of duplicity, a man capable of sustaining 7 simultaneous realities while I had only one. And then I understood something deeper. The reason he would eventually be exposed wasn't coincidence, bad luck, or even a lapse on his part. His downfall was inevitable because his architecture of deceit relied on constant perfection. And no human being can maintain 7 false lives without a crack appearing. And that avalanche was what prepared me to face the final confrontation, to see his real reaction, to end everything he had built without me knowing.
After discovering the full extent of his deceit, I knew the moment to confront him was coming. I couldn't live in the lie any longer, nor could I pretend everything was fine. Every greeting, every kiss, every everyday gesture reminded me that I was sharing my life with a man who had sustained 7 different realities while I believed ours was the only one. The mix of rage, disappointment, and, yes, a sharp, almost painful curiosity pushed me to plan the confrontation in a way that left him no escape. I didn't call him, I didn't text, I simply waited for him at home in the same place where every day he presented himself as the exemplary husband. The tension in the air was palpable. I walked through the living room with the calm that completely hid the storm inside me. The moment he arrived, he noticed something different immediately. The way I looked at him, the absence of the smile that always reassured him, sent a shiver down his spine. He didn't know I had already seen everything. He didn't know I already had the full map of his betrayal. I began calmly, in a low, almost
whispering voice, contrasting with the energy I had accumulated over weeks of investigation. "We need to talk," I said. That simple phrase carried more weight than any scream, because he understood that something had changed. His gaze faltered for a moment, a tiny detail, but enough to know his world was beginning to crack. I didn't call him. I didn't text. I waited for him at home in the same place where every day he presented himself as the exemplary husband. The moment he arrived, he noticed something different immediately. The way I looked at him, the absence of the smile that always reassured him, sent a shiver down his spine. He didn't know I had already seen everything. He didn't know I already had the full map of his betrayal. I began calmly, in a low, almost whispering voice, contrasting with the energy I had accumulated over weeks of investigation. "We need to talk," I said. That simple phrase carried more weight than any scream, because he understood that something had changed. His gaze faltered for a moment. A tiny detail, but enough to know his world was beginning to crack. I didn't wait for him to apologize. I didn't give him a chance. I pulled out my phone, then opened my own computer where I had stored all the evidence. Messages, photos, locations, proof of every encounter, every lie. His face went from disbelief to panic in seconds. Watching the rapid change was almost satisfying. The confidence of someone who believes they're in control collapses faster than anyone expects. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice trembling, trying to sound surprised, innocent, as if he had no idea what I was talking about. "Yes," I replied, letting my controlled calm contrast with the chaos he must have felt. "All of this, every name, every date, every lie. 7 women. 7 realities you created while I believed ours was the only one. The mix of rage, disappointment, and, yes, a sharp, almost painful curiosity pushed me to plan the confrontation in a way that left him no escape. Then came the cruelest details, the stories of each woman, how he managed every relationship, how he maintained appearances with everyone, including me. Every lie meticulously organized, every plan carefully executed, all laid bare before my eyes. It was terrifying and fascinating at the same time. Fascinating because only someone with extreme coldness could sustain so much deceit. Terrifying because that man had been my husband, my partner, and I didn't know him. At that moment, the tension reached its peak. I could feel his breathing quicken, his attempts at manipulation becoming clumsy. He tried to blame the women, say he couldn't say no. Every word, every defense only served to show me how ridiculous it was to try to justify the unjustifiable. His absolute control of the narrative was broken. I was standing in front of the truth, and the truth was devastating. Then I made a decision that changed everything. I cut off any possibility of redemption, any room for negotiation. "It's over," I said, firmly, with a calm that cut like a scalpel. "No forgiveness, no second chance, no explanations matter. What you did destroyed any trust we had." He tried to approach, to touch, to beg, but this time, no touch would work. No word would soothe. Every gesture of remorse seemed small, insignificant compared to the magnitude of his betrayal. He was exposed naked before his own lies, and I was finally free from the illusion he had woven. A long, heavy silence followed, almost tangible. I watched every reaction, every unconscious attempt at manipulation. It was almost ironic. For years, he had managed everything with precision and confidence. Now, in front of me, he was at the mercy of the truth he could not control. His entire world, his perfect lie, was collapsing in real time. Then came the definitive break. No reconciliations, no false promises. Every suitcase, every personal item, every reminder of our life together became evidence of what no longer could exist. I watched him leave my home, the same home where he had carried out so many lies, and as he closed the door behind him, I felt a mix of relief and bitterness only someone completely betrayed could understand. The most striking part, what stayed etched in my memory, wasn't the yelling or the tears. It was the silence afterward. That feeling of being alone, yet awake, aware that I was free, having seen the heart of a man and understood it had never belonged to me. It was over, and though the pain was intense, so was the clarity. I could now rebuild my life without lies. The cruelest irony of all this is that he thought he could manage 7 lives at once without consequences, that he could play with the trust and loyalty of everyone without being caught, that he could maintain an empire of lies while I slept beside him. But the truth always finds its way, and I was the one who found it, the one who saw it all, understood it all, and finally took control of what remained of myself. That day, I learned something no one can teach you. Betrayal hurts not only for what you lose, but for what it reveals about the person you thought you knew. And I also learned that when the moment comes to confront a lie, there is no room for doubt, hesitation, or excuses. There's only the truth, raw, direct, and the decision to not let anyone else control your story. As he walked away, his figure disappearing down the street, I felt a mix of relief and power. For the first time in years, I had the last word. And that word was final.